Hey VC, this is take two. God, there's some weird energy. Technology, well, and freaking my Mac, you know, I upgraded to the High Sierra, whatever the latest thing, so I could go to Pro Tools 12 and blah, 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 blah. And just everything has just not been, oh man. Apple's really starting to get on my last nerve these days. All right. That's neither here nor there, but hey, it's Rodger with the records, and we're going to try to do this again. Cheers, everybody. God. All right. Playing catch up here. You know, I'm trying to show you the records I've picked up over the last few months, and I guess I buy too many records, but whatever. But that's what you're here for, right? So here, let's start with these, get them out of the way. Porcupine Tree, In Absentia, and Dead Wing. Yes, the newly remastered by Steven Wilson. Things, and these were like so pricey and hard to find, and the CDs sound horrible. Like some of the worst digital clipping ever on the CDs of these things. The DVD audio are out of print and pricey and blah, 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 blah. And apparently the original vinyl of this has a pressing error. That's really, Derek did a video on it, like on Mellotron Hearts, like all screwed up, the speed's all screwed up. So anyway, very welcome reissues of these. They are my favorite Porcupine Tree records. And I've said before that, you know, I'm kind of done with Steven Wilson. You know, he could surprise me, but at this point I'm like, I don't know. But these are my favorite, and I guess they were the first ones I heard, and Michael Ockerfeldt from Opeth is all over this, and that's another band that I'm like kind of falling out of love with. But you know, anyway, I do love these records, and I'm really glad to have them on vinyl. They sound really nice, maybe a little too nice, but hey, I'm not going to complain. All right, if you're into those records, go get them. Really good. All right, continuing with the new vinyl. Here's another Revenge International comp. You know how much I love these things. So we have Mark Renner, Few Traces is the name. Mark Renner, yeah, I'd never heard of him. You know, Revenge International, they do these lovely comps of like 80s electronic, sometimes ambient, sometimes kind of dancey, sometimes kind of avant-garde. Really cool stuff. I really love all of them, and you know, this lovely folded over cover that opens from the top, and 2 LPs with a booklet, and really lovingly done. And so what we have here is more 80s electronic music, sometimes ambient, but sometimes like Cocteau Twins sort of dream pop, electro dream pop kind of sound. Really, really nice. If that sounds like something you'd be into, check this out. Yeah, very good, very good. All right, a couple of Bureau B reissues that I couldn't resist because look at this artwork. Kendall Sonnen and Traumland. These were originally issued in Germany on Sky Records in 1980 and 1981. I was talking to a friend at the record store who had been to Frankfurt relatively recently, and he said you could find Sky Records in Germany, particularly outside of the, you know, Berlin or whatever. Not here, not here. So yeah, what do we have here? We have, well, look at this. It's, yes, German electronic music from the 70s, well, late 70s, early 80s. All analog. Look at those knobs. Got your knobs. Got your knobs and your sliders and stuff. So we're talking analog. Okay, so the first one, Sonnenlicht, is very much in that Berlin School, Tangerine Dream kind of thing, although a little more rough-hewn, a little more handmade, not as slick. Yeah, good stuff. But this is where the action is. Traumland borders on like almost like avant-garde kind of electronic music. I don't know, really interesting. It's like it's a huge step from what they're doing here, and a year later, this is way more interesting. You know, if you're gonna get one, get this one. All right, I guess this has been out for a while, but for whatever reason. Over my head. Boris live at Third Man here in Nashville. Yeah. Man, this town is awash in Third Man record stuff. I mean, I don't know what it's like in the rest of it. I mean, people seem to think like, ooh, they're collectible, but like around here, thrift stores, Goodwills, it's everywhere. But yeah, Boris, 5 songs from their set from what, a couple years ago, last year, a couple years ago, I don't know. I remember when they were commenting, I was like, no way am I subjecting myself to that. But hey, here's a decent recording of it. And I love Boris, metal, I think it's unfair to call them a metal band. I think they're much more, I think they're just a rock band. They're a Japanese rock band, Alright, now this is metal. Slayer, Hell Waits. Not an original from 1985, but a repress from 1988 on a metal blade. I showed another Slayer record recently, and I marveled at the musicality of it. And so when I saw this, I was like, hell yeah, Hell Waits. And this is killer. This is killer. It's ridiculous to say that like this kind of thrash metal can be like musical and have good songwriting, but songs like Kill Again, that can be like a really well-crafted song. Well, it is. Yeah, it's like, I think way more than Metallica, I'm going to say it, way more than Metallica, Slayer is just more musical, more interesting, better players, better conceptions, better songwriting, to be honest. Hit the dislikes and whatever, I don't care. I saw Metallica back in the day. I wish I had the t-shirt I got. Had this knife coming up out of a toilet and said, Metallica, metal up your ass. I wore that shirt out. Alright, anyway, Slayer, Hell Waits, killer. Alright, enough of that juvenilia. Cheers, VC. Hope you're all well. I hope I'm not wasting my time making another video here. Alright, here's a good one. Calvin Keys, Proceed with Caution. White label promo on Black Jazz from 1974. Yeah, the Black Jazz label out of California is like just one of those, collectible labels, and it's this kind of stuff, that kind of Afrocentric, spiritual jazz thing from the 70s that, didn't get a lot of love at the time, but, nowadays amongst record collectors, it's, cool stuff. And so anyway, I jumped all over this. And I'll be honest, not every Black Jazz record or like every Strata East record is like totally great. I mean, they're good, but not, ooh, I'll pay any amount for it. Good, this is really good, though. This is really good. So he's a guitar player. It's that whole like California thing, but really good. Really, I'm really psyched to have this. And this was cheap, and I didn't have really high expectations of it, but I thought, well, why not? Ode to Super, Jackie McLean and Gary Bartz, a couple alto sax players. This is on Inner City from 1976, but it says recorded in Copenhagen, July 17th, 1973. So I don't know if there's a Danish or some sort of Scandinavian version of this that's different. This is a U.S. whatever. Now I expected this to just be kind of your typical blowing session, and it kind of is, but it isn't, especially because there's this track Ode to Super by Gary Bartz, which I'm not sure if it's on that Cinderella thing or part of some of his other, he did some sort of concept albums and about life in the ghetto and stuff, and Ode to the Super of this tenement building, and so they sing, and it's really touching and effective, and it's so earnest, and yeah, terrific. I don't know these guys in the rhythm section. Thomas Clausen on piano, Bo Stief on bass, Alex Reel on drums. Sounds kind of familiar. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, this was a nice find. This was at Hound Dog Hoover's tent sale, I believe. He closed his store, but if the weather permitting, once a month he'll do a little tent sale. And he digs and finds interesting stuff, and he had a feeling I would be into this, and he prices things so reasonably. I was like, oh, hell yeah, I'm going to bring this home. What is this? Mike Moss, Four Rivers. Name of the album is Upstream. This is private press jazz out of New York from 1970, blah, blah, 70-something. Late 70s, I believe. Still sealed. And I think he wanted like $8 for it. I'm like, yeah, bring that home. It's really good. It's really good. Apparently he made 3 records on... and he plays flute and clarinet and bass clarinet and soprano saxophone. So, and there's there's guitar. I'm not sure if there's keyboards on. Bottle Roy plays tabla on here, so had some pull here. This is really good, and a neat little private press thing. Awesome. Here's another weird jazz record. It's on a major label, but fairly obscure. I was not familiar with this. Compost is the name of the band. It doesn't inspire a lot of confidence, does it? Compost. Life is Round is the name of the album on Columbia from 1973. Who is Compost, you might ask? It's Bob Moses, Harold Vick, Yuma Santos, Jack Gregg, and Jack DeJohnette. That's a pretty killer lineup, with friends Roland Prince, Ed Finney, the great Gene Lee on vocals on one track, which I'm going to talk about in a second, and Lou Courtney. Compost. Throw it in the compost heap. No. But it's a cool record. It's a cool, it's a little wanky. It's a little wanky in that 70s jazz rock fusion kind of way. If you want to hear Bob Moses and Jack DeJohnette kind of wank on the clavinet, this is the record for you. But what redeems this is that track with Gene Lee. That is, again, kind of in that spiritual or more like Afrocentric, or just sort of like, saying, what is that? Life is round. It's sort of like, life is fucked up and bullshit, and we got to make things right. It saves this record, honestly. Cool little find. All right. Took a chance on this. It just looked so cool, and I thought he played with Sun Ra, but that's not correct. Harold Alexander, Raw Root on Atlantic from 1974. We are stuck in the 70s. It's the place to be. I remember the 70s. I was a kid, but like 1974, I remember Nixon resigning and Watergate and all that. Anyway, reminiscing with Rodger and his records. All right, this was not on my radar in 1974. That's for sure. Harold Alexander, Raw Root. Can you see it? His face is like coming out of the. It's hard to see. Promo copy on Atlantic. Now he plays flute. If you like flute jazz, this is nice. Flute, like kind of jazz, soul jazz. It's nice. He only made a few records apparently. Who plays on this? Joe Booner on keyboards, Richard Davis on bass. Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, anyway, good stuff. Good stuff. Not earth-shaking, but good. Again, this is not earth-shaking. It's a later one of this guy's records that, I really like the early Ian Carr Nucleus records, but they're really tough to find. This is In Flagrante Delicto, U.S. copy on Capitol from 1977. Recorded live in Germany. 2 long tracks of, I guess they're British jazz rock fusion kind of thing. Good stuff, maybe a little more mannered than those early records that were kind of off the hook at times. All right, now this record. I picked this up basically because it's of the label on Muse. I have many Muse records that are excellent, but this cover, oh my god. Eddie Daniels' Brief Encounter. Now, it's hard to see with the glare, I'm sorry. Now, can you see, like, there's this woman going up the stairs out of this, like, his dungeon or whatever? You can't, okay, there she's going, her back is turned, she's going up the stairs of the dungeon, and he's got his saxophone coming out of his pants. And that porn stash is... Alright, whatever. I shouldn't be lookist, but that's a terrible cover. I almost was like, can I even bring myself to bring this up to the counter? Well, of course, I had no problem with that at all. I have no shame. But that is a terrible cover. But the music is good. It's really good. Eddie Daniels, kind of didn't really go on to do a whole lot, but and he was trained at like Juilliard or something. He's one of those music school trained guys, and so technically brilliant. And but this is really good. Now this band, Billy Mintz on drums, Rick Laird on bass, Andy Laverne, string ensemble, Fender Rhodes, and not mentioned Mini Moog. There's Mini Moog all over this record, people. Don't be fooled. It's omitted there, but there's a Mini Moog. So if the sound of the string ensemble, Fender Rhodes, and Mini Moog gets you excited, gets your mouth watering, then, put it in a paper bag and bring it home and listen to it. That's all I'm going to say. Eddie Daniels, Brief Encounter on Muse from 1980. That's really good. Musically. That cover, no. All right. Here's another terrible cover. God. But it's a great record. Giorgio Gasolini meets Jean-Luc Ponty, Steve Lacy, Harry Beckett, Tony Oxley, Gianni Bidori, Bruno Tommaso, and Paul Rutherford. God, what a lineup, right? But hey, let's stomp on the violin and let's try to, cash in on Jean-Luc Ponty's rock stardom at this time, 1976. Yeah. This was recorded earlier, I think. And so Giorgio Gasolini, so it's this British and French and Italian sort of mashup of sort of free jazz, but with Gasolini's sort of compositions guiding people along the way. This is really good, like free-ish jazz record from the 70s. As you would expect from people like Tony Oxley and Paul Rutherford. Tony Oxley made one record, more than one record for Columbia back in the late 60s. Super rare, That's why, a major label, well, that doesn't mean that, you sold more than a couple hundred. More than a couple hundred exist. Cheers, everybody. Boy, I hope this is working. Another great record, Harold Land, A New Shade of Blue on Milestone from 1970-something, 72, I think. Unfortunately, this copy's a little chewed up. Oh, but God, what a great band, man! With Harold Land on tenor saxophone, Bobby Hutcherson on vibes. They played a lot together. With Buster Williams on bass, Bill Henderson on piano, electric piano, Billy Hart on drums, and then Toomey on conga. Great music. There's a recent reissue that I might pick up just to play and see what it's like till I find a better original or something. Anyway. Maybe I need to investigate that ultrasonic thing that James Buttery and Anthony Camploni and other people I've talked about. Dr. Deadwax. Oh, I miss Dr. Deadwax. Just as a final solution on records like this, I need to make a video about cleaning because, honestly, I would not use an ultrasonic machine as my daily cleaner. I would still have a vacuum machine. I just would. All right, Pat Martino. We'll be together again on Muse from 1976. This is guitar and electric piano duets with Gil Goldstein, recorded in February of 1976. I think there's an album where he does a couple of duets with this guy, and this is a whole album with that. So, as you might expect, very understated, very mellow. But beautiful and tasteful, and if you like that sound, you can't really go wrong. Covers beat, but the album plays great. All right, here's an ECM record that I'm almost certain I used to own, or a roommate had back in the day. I'd forgotten how great this record is. Jack DeJohnette's Directions, New Rags, from 1977. Boy, ECM has a sound, and there's moments of that sound on this record, but man, back in those days, John Abercrombie could really tear shit up, man. He could crank it up, and and rock out, you know, and so, and, you know, get Jack DeJohnette, you know, pounding those drums like Miles Davis was, you know, staring him down, you know. Really good, really, really good. One of the better ECMs, certainly. Yeah, all right. And this is a record I've been looking for. It's a common record. I don't know how common it is, considering it's been years I've been looking for it. It's just not, I guess, desirable and expensive. It's the second record that Sonny Fortune made for Awakening. This is the first one. I pulled it just because I was looking for it. This is really good, from 1970 something. But this is the one I was looking for. The second one, Waves of Dreams. You know, I'll be honest, it's maybe not quite as great as this one, but they're really good. As Dave Wayne puts it, cheap heat. You know, this, you know, maybe you're not going to run across them every day, but if you do, it'll be, here in the States, $5-6. You know, like, totally worth it. What a great player. You know, played with Miles. That great 75 band, Garda Pangea. Whew. All right, finally a Ravi Shankar record I picked up recently. Two Raga Moods, newly recorded by the great Ravi Shankar in India. This is on Capitol. From, it appears to be the mid-60s. Recorded in India, so the sound quality isn't like mind-blowingly great, but it's good. Cleaned up really nice, so the, you know, no crackle or anything like that. But first side, this Raga Ahir Lalit, I'm murdering that. Really interesting scale he's working with, like quite dissonant and unsettling and full of tension in a way that, like, the second side is more like consonant and, you know, more typical, I guess. Anyway, really one of the better Ravi Shankar records I've heard. You know, he's made a gajillion of them, but particularly that first side, it's just, and, you know, it builds and builds and builds and stops on a dime. Great. All right, VC. I'm not going to do this again. Not tonight. So hopefully this worked, and I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it. I appreciate your comments. I apologize again for blowing you all off, but I don't. I do read them and respond in my heart. I do. Take care, everyone. I'll see you soon.